Joining us now is Professor Tim Flannery, Chairman of the Copenhagen Climate Council. Thanks for joining us.
It's a pleasure, Tony.
Now, are you part of a vast left-wing conspiracy to de-industrialise the Western world?
Well, it's strange if I am, because the councillors we have on our council, including some pretty big companies, you know, Duke Energy, Intel, China Power International, a number of others. So I don't think there's a conspiracy. But it is interesting to see this sort of this issue raise its head again at this particular moment in time.
Why is it happening?
Well, I think that, you know, the sceptics and those who don't want to see action on climate change realise that we're at the critical moment. And, you know, no matter what Copenhagen produces in terms of concrete outcomes, if there is actually a move to deal with the problem, I think we're then in a position where a very strong message has been sent. A very strong moral message has been sent. We're seeing that in places like Los Angeles, where people want to now phase out coal. Once that becomes a global message, the balance of power has shifted. So this is the moment, I think, where they've really got to stick to the barricades.
Are you surprised at the shifting of the balance of power in the opposition, the Liberal Party in Australia? I mean, you know Malcolm Turnbull. I mean, you advised him in some respects on soil carbon sequestration and other things. But at the same time, he's got this group of now very powerful, vocal climate change sceptics threatening to pull him under.
Well, that's right, but not only pull him under, if they have their way, in my view, pull the whole country under, because we are now moving inexorably towards a global deal to deal with this problem. And I just wonder what those sceptics are going to say in 2018 when, you know, if the Waxman-Markey legislation passes and Australia's done nothing, we'll be subject to border tariffs. You know, at that point, are they still going to be sceptics and say there really isn't a problem? You know, it doesn't matter what the Americans think or the Chinese, there isn't a problem. It's just not a productive position.
What do you say to people like Senator Nick Minchin, though, who believe that what's going on here is something fraudulent, that environmentalists have embraced a kind of new religion? The collapse of communism left them with nothing, and now they've taken on environmentalism with a religious fervour that goes beyond science.
Look, what I'd just say, I guess, to Minchin is that it's not just the environmentalists. You know, when you get companies like Alcoa and Duke Energy arguing that we need to have a cap-and-trade bill to deal with the problem, you're way beyond that. You know, this is now no longer really a scientific debate. It's about politics and about economics now, and that's what's being worked out, you know, virtually as we speak in Australia and in Copenhagen.
Is this resurgence of scepticism only happening here? I mean, travel very widely around the world. I mean, there's a strong body of scepticism in the United States. What about other parts of the world?
Look, it's particularly strong here and in the United States. I think it always has been, because we've had a strong resource base and a strong fossil fuel-based economy in those two countries. Probably in Russia as well. There's a reasonable amount of it as well. But I just think that the moment, if you're a sceptic, you've really got nowhere to go. If you just want to deny that there's a problem at this moment in time, where do you go except for attacking the scientists, which is a crazy sort of zero-sum game?
Well, where the serious sceptics want to go is that there be no action because they believe nothing is happening. This, to them, is the Y2K of the current generation. It's something that scientists are warning about that's never going to happen. That's the way they look at it.
Well, their argument now is with some of the biggest corporations on Earth and with some of the biggest governments on Earth. It's not with the scientists.
Well, it's with a lot of scientists too. I mean, you've just seen the story about the computer hackers who broke into the computer system at Britain's Climate Research Unit, and they released thousands of these personal emails between scientists. And sceptics are now using these emails to support their case that scientists have become swept up in this fervour, and they've falsified data. As Andrew Bolt said, there's been a massive collusion to fiddle data or destroy data. I mean, you know these scientists. Is that what they're involved in?
And I know the way science works, and it's not. Science works through a very, very robust interchange and testing of ideas. And as you see that process, of course, it looks messy, you know, when you're in the middle of it. But ultimately, science is driven by, you know, by testing and retesting of hypotheses until we get to something we agree is the most likely cause. You know, and in climate science, that's exactly what's happened. And you know, really, what's happened here is that some criminals have hacked their way into a university database, taken these emails, for all we know, selectively distributed ones that look incriminating or look like, you know, put the scientists in a bad light, just 2 or 3 weeks before the big meeting in Copenhagen. You know, why is that happening? You know.
Well, I mean, what sceptics like Andrew Bolt would no doubt argue is that it's happening because there are people out there who don't believe these scientists, and now they appear to have proof that there's dissension among the scientists, and they're not letting the public know that there's dissension between themselves about the arguments about what's actually happening. Well, just take one because one of these published emails, because it goes to one of the hottest sceptic arguments, which is that since 1998, and I say hot, advisedly, because 1998, the hottest year on record, carbon dioxide in the atmosphere continued to increase after that, but the temperature did not keep going up. So the argument of the sceptics is, therefore, the theory, as they put it, of global warming is not actually working like it should.
Well, the thing is, we're dealing with an incomplete understanding of the way the Earth system works. We know enough to be able to say, as the IPCC has said, that greenhouse gases cause warming. They're 90% sure, 90% plus sure that the warming's caused by humans. Now, we can go that far. When we come to the last few years, where we haven't seen a continuation of that warming trend, we don't understand all of the factors that create Earth's climate. So there are some things we don't understand, and that's what the scientists were emailing each other about. That we just don't understand the way the whole system works, and we've got to find out.
Yeah, the published email that made the front pages of papers here was from a respected US climatologist called Kevin Trenbeth, and he says, "We can't account for the lack of warming at the moment. It's a travesty that we can't." He does appear to be worried that the science is not doing the right things, or that the climate is not doing what he expected it to do.
Well, no, it's not what he expected to do. See, these people work with models, right? Computer modelling. So when the computer modelling and the real-world data disagree, you've got a very interesting problem, and that's when science really gets engaged. So what